A number of analysts say a higher alert level in the main economic hub and other highly populated areas may prevent the government from hitting its growth target for 2022. Now, joining us tonight is Chris Nelson of the British Chamber of Commerce to share foreign businessmen's insights on our growth and recovery. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening to all your viewers.
Chris, the surge in cases due to the Omicron variant, which obviously is affecting not only here in the Philippines but elsewhere, has affected also investors' sentiment and clouded analysts' outlook on the local economy for the year. Does the British Chamber share that sentiment?
Well, I think obviously Omicron is a concern. We've seen it obviously operating in other countries. Fortunately, if you take the UK, where they haven't put any new restrictions, it's because obviously of the vaccination rate is leading to less hospitalization. And of course, that's one of the key things. And we actually have supported the government, and we commend obviously the increase in vaccination rate and the need to obviously do even more. What I would say actually, David, is that while obviously this is a challenge, there are things that can be done. And that is why we'd say if you look at the economic measures, such as the passage of the Retail Trade Act, the Foreign Investment Act, and the Public Service Act, these will give a significant boost to the economy when they're through in terms of foreign direct investment. And I'd just like to talk also about RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Trade Agreement. If all these are signed when Congress comes back in, then I think this will be a good offset to obviously the challenges of Omicron.
All right. I guess that's among the suggestions you're having as the President Duterte will be stepping down from office in roughly 5 months. What are other laws the Chamber thinks are important that this government should be able to pass?
Well, I think I have to commend, first of all, the government for certifying the economic bills and obviously the Retail Trade Act, which we're going to be promoting now. And I would commend, obviously, the work of the Department of Finance, DTI, and NEDA, and everybody involved. I think the laws I've just mentioned, I think the Public Service Act, there was a recent bulletin put out by the Board of Investment saying this could be a game changer. And also, of course, the Foreign Investment Act. And I think I want to just emphasize, I'll come back to the Regional Trade Agreement. This is very important because it opens up, obviously, a lot of opportunities. And Secretary Lopez, in his comments, has said that this could be a key support to getting back growth rates of GNP above 6%. In fact, obviously up towards about 7% if we can. So I think those are the measures to work on. At the same time, going back to the work that's been done by people like Joey Concepcion of Gonigosho and the work of the private sector to support the government. And that is, of course, we are totally aligned and support what the ITF is doing in terms of increasing vaccination and now also, of course, getting more of the boosters out there. This will assist. And I think those measures, if sent out, will be a clear signal in liberalizing the economy. And it's a good way, obviously, as we come towards, as you said, the end of the Duterte administration, but obviously that's a key support, and they've done very well if those measures get passed.
Like we said, the Duterte administration is exiting in roughly 5 months. What do British businessmen expect from the next president of the Philippines?
Well, I think actually keeping up the momentum that's actually been built up. I think I would commend, obviously, the Build program, the infrastructure that's been going on. I think we would look for further liberalization of the economy. One of the things that I would like to say is that as the British Chamber, we have been promoting the Philippines extensively to UK investors, but not just for the access to the Philippine market, for the growth that there lies, for the excellent, talented workforce, but also as an opportunity to enter into Southeast Asia. I think I would again like to commend the government for certifying those bills. For any new administration, whoever comes in, we'd like to see a further liberalization of those to encourage investors to come here, to see the Philippines, obviously to be able to benefit from the talented workforce and obviously the market itself, which is going to grow significantly, but also the access to Southeast Asia. That's why I just want to come back and commend David that the Retail Trade Agreement, and along with the Public Service Act and Foreign Investment Act, is very important because it gives a clear signal. So further liberalization of the economy, further investment in the infrastructure program, that would be very most welcome.
Just before we let you go, we have just a few more seconds, very briefly. I'd just like to go back to the pandemic situation the world is facing. What perhaps can the Philippines learn from other countries, such as the UK's response against the threat of the Omicron?
Well, I think, to be fair, it's what other countries have been trying to do, and that, of course, is the vaccination rate. I think I'd like to commend Secretary Galvez, the ITF. I mean, they've done very well, obviously, in terms of Metro Manila. I believe the rate probably now in vaccination is close to 80, 90%. And, of course, now moving into the boosters. And I think that's what people have seen. Obviously, we know Omicron is highly contagious. However, it appears, based on other countries, to be producing not as severe hospitalization, thankfully, but it's still a significant challenge. And we'd obviously like to commend all the health workers and all their massive efforts. So it's really vaccinations, it's really getting the boosters out there. And obviously, I think that is clear from what the UK has done. Because obviously keeping itself relatively open, there are certain, obviously, restrictions. And that's been clearly stated by Prime Minister Johnson, is because of the high vaccination rate in the UK and now the high booster rate. And again, great work to Senator Galvez and, of course, also Joey Concepcion, all the private sector. And I'd just like to mention, of course, AstraZeneca, who one of our leading members, they were one of, obviously, the first vaccines, and the work, of course, of the British Embassy.
Thank you for joining us, Chris Nelson of the British Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate it.